Hello, and welcome to this HSB webinar. My name is Matthew, and I will be your Global Spec moderator, and I want to review a few housekeeping items with you before we begin. Please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the operation of the user interface for today's webinar. The large window with the heading Presentation in the upper left is the primary window for today. Just to the right of the main presentation window is the Speaker Bio window, with background information on today's presenters. Just below that is the Q&A window. At any time during the presentation, you can enter a question into the box in the lower section of the window and click Submit. Your question will be placed in the queue to address when we get to the Q&A session. At the bottom of your screen, you will see additional buttons to enhance your webinar experience. To see what a particular button does, just place your mouse pointer over it and a tooltip will appear with a description of the button's function. And now, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. With us today, we have Tim Neuhofer, the Field Services Manager coming to us from HSB. To read more about Tim, please look at the Speaker Bio window right next to the main presentation window. And Tim, welcome to today's event. And with that, I will pass things along to you to get started.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Welcome everyone to HSB and UN Portable Tanks webinar. My name is Tim Neuhofer. I'll be the instructor. Before we get started, a little bit about myself. I have 32 years experience with ASME codes and international standards, performing duties as an inspector, supervisor, auditor, and manager. My current role with HSB is a field service manager, providing technical support, oversight, and support for transportation services, including US DOT, Transport Canada, and Carriage of Dangerous Goods. Joining me later in the presentation, Frank Pisak, he's our Transportation Commercial Manager, and Manny Alexis, he's our Design Engineer. A little bit about HSB. Hopefully you all know us that we're ASME Accredited Authorized Inspection Agency providing ASME Authorized Inspection Services. In addition to those, on this slide, we have some services that support our customers for boilers, pressure vessels, and equipment. Today, we're going to cover US DOT approval UN portable tanks. HSB is a global company. In addition to our offices in the United States, we have 15 offices, legal entities throughout the globe, over 400 people, inspection personnel, providing our inspection needs. The slide lists the countries that we currently have offices in. Who is this webinar for? Manufacturers of ASME Section 8 Division pressure vessels looking to manufacture, or maybe you're already manufacturing UN portable tanks to US DOT requirements. Users of UN portable tanks, organizations that requalify UN portable tanks. The objectives of this webinar will provide a big picture overview of the process for certifying UN portable tanks to 49 CFR requirements, inform how HSB can support the approval of UN portable tanks, and then review our capabilities of approving portable tanks to regulations other than US DOT. Before we get started, we got to make sure we're on the same page of what is a UN portable tank. The definition comes from 49 CFR. 49 CFR is the US DOT's, where the regulation is for construction of UN portable tanks. What they describe as a definition of a UN portable tank is an intermodal tank having a capacity of more than 450 liters. It includes a shell fitted with service equipment and structural equipment, including stabilizing members external to the shell and skids, mountings, or accessories to facilitate mechanical handling. The reason I have it underlined here in the presentation is it's more than just a Section 8 pressure vessel. It includes the service equipment, it includes the relief devices, any valves, and in addition to the structure equipment. So it's important to realize that if you look at the picture, you have the tank. The picture on the left, you have the tank and you have the frame around it. And what you don't see is the fill valves or the discharge valves or the relief device on there. But that would be included in the certification of the UN portable tank. Continue on with the definition. A UN portable tank must be capable of being filled and discharged without the removal of its structural equipment, and must be capable of being lifted when full. What is not, the last sentence is what is not a UN portable tank. Cargo tanks, rail tank cars, non-metallic tanks, non-specification tanks, bulk bins, and IBCs and packagings made to cylinder specifications. So those are not UN portable tanks. One of the things that kind of highlight here is this IBC here, intermediate bulk containers. You may come across to where someone says, hey, we need a UN tank. IBCs, intermediate bulk containers, can also be a UN tank, but they're different regulations in 49 CFR. So it can be confusing when someone says, hey, they want a UN tank. Make sure it's not a portable tank or intermediate bulk container. The UN portable tank approval process. So this is really, like I said, the big flow of the process of initial approval to, it's certified, and you have periodic inspection after it's in use. Some of the things that we'll discuss in this presentation are: what is the hazardous material to be shipped? Where is the hazardous material to be shipped? Determine the regulatory requirements and the standards to be used. Obtain design approval from a designated approval agency, DAA, such as HSB. Fabricate and test UN portable tank, and then certify the UN portable tank. Once it's certified, and then it can be used for the transportation of hazardous material, and then it's required to be periodically tested, inspected, and if necessary, repaired. Now this tank approval process, is not, this is similar US DOT, European Union, Carriage Dangerous Goods, Transport Canada. The process is very similar. What may be different is specific regulatory requirements that they have. We're going to discuss, each step further in this presentation. What is to be shipped? So the picture on the screen, it shows an excerpt of the hazardous material table from 49 CFR 172.101. What you'll see, this table is similar to what you'll see in the Carriage Dangerous Goods Regulations ADR or the IMDG code. They'll have a similar table. And what's important to know prior to designing it is, what is the hazardous material that is to be transported? I have highlighted, an example, the name vinyl chloride and identification number UN 1086. Let me see here. Bear with me here a second. Right, got it. So the other thing with the table here is what's important is, once we know the hazardous material, is we got special provisions here in this column that I just highlighted here, to where, we know it's going to be a UN portable tank. So these notes here will have to go to 49 CFR 172.102 and look at these notes to see if they are applicable for UN portable tanks. So hopefully some of you may realize this T50 here, that is applicable to a UN portable tank. So if we were manufacturing a tank with vinyl chloride that's going to use vinyl chloride, we would have to comply with T50, whatever that note says. The other thing, the information that we get from this hazardous material table is the packaging requirements. So we would need to look at these notes in here, especially like for the bulk, a UN portable tank, a bulk packaging. Let me back up here. Bulk packaging is a UN portable tank. It's a cylinder, intermediate bulk container, a cargo tank. So if the packaging that we're using, we would need to look at these requirements here. The other thing that we would have to consider, with that design is how is it going to be transported? So that information here, we're going to talk about it on the next slide here. But we have to look at these notes in 9 and 10 here, to see if that's applicable for the design of the portable tank. Where is it to be shipped? So, bullet one is, where is that? What is the country that we're going to be transporting that has material in? So for the sake of this, we're using this presentation. We're using a 49 CFR, as our example for where the country that we're going to be using it in. Is it within the country, or we're just going to be going seagoing vessel between the ports? The next thing that we know is, how will the material be shipped? Road, rail, air, inland, water, or sea? So primarily we're kind of like with the UN portable tanks, we're thinking road and probably a little bit of sea. When you look at some of the requirements for there that need to be considered as far as the design requirements. So we may need to look at different parts of 49 CFR, if it's road, rail, air, or inland. And then the last one, what is the country? Where will the tanks be manufactured? So and what are the regulations? So normally what we'll do is, number one is, if they're going to be transported in the U.S., then we got to follow 49 CFR requirements. If they're going to be transported in Europe, we got to follow the Carriage Dangerous Goods, or whatever that country says. Where it's also important, is where it be manufactured. An example would be Transport Canada. Transport Canada UN portable tanks, if they're manufactured outside of the U.S., you can meet 49 CFR requirements and approve it per 49 CFR requirements. However, if that portable tank, the container, also meets the requirements for a container for Convention for Safe Containers, you're required a longitudinal impact test. So that has to be witnessed by an agency approved by Transport Canada. So those are some of the things that, when you are manufacturing tank, what country is important, where it's manufactured, and where is it going to be used for transportation of hazardous material. All right, so regulatory requirements, for where is it going to be, hazardous material going to be transported? The first two bullets on the slide tell us we need to look at the regulatory requirements for what are the requirements for registering the manufacturer. What are the approval requirements? Are there any special approval that they need to have? Any accreditations? For the approval agency, such as HSB, what does the regulatory require for us? US DOT requires to be a designated approval agency. Europe may require, accredited inspection body. And also the regulatory requirements will have the requirements for design, fabrication, inspection, testing, and certification. And it's also it may also refer you to construction standards, such as ASME Section 8 Division 1 for the pressure vessel. Or other components, might refer to a different standard, so far as the manufacture of safety devices and stuff like that. An example, why we need to look at that is US DOT requires the manufacturer to be registered with the US DOT and have an ASME certificate of authorization to manufacture pressure vessels to ASME Section 8 Division 1. US DOT requires the manufacturer to apply for approval to a designated approval agency such as HSB. ASB Section 8 Division 1 requires the manufacturer to have an agreement with an authorized inspection agency such as HSB. Depending on who the manufacturer's authorized inspection agency is, it is possible that for the manufacturer of that UN portable tank, that the designated approval agency for US DOT and authorized inspection agency for ASME Section 8 can be two different organizations. But HSB, we can do them both for you. The manufacturer uses the construction standard ASME Section 8 Division 1 to meet the requirements of US DOT 49 CFR for the pressure vessel, the service equipment, relief devices, and structural equipment. 49 CFR requires the use of ASME Section 8 Division 1. They're specific on Section 8 Division 1. It's possible, depending on the portable tank, that you want to use ASME Section 8 Division 2. In order, so that would be, something that's not approved in 49 CFR. So they have what they call an alternative agreement, or commonly referred to as a special permit. So if the manufacturer wants to use Section 8 Division 2, you're going to have additional time to get approval from US DOT to use Section 8 Division 2. So that would be a special permit that would require there. HSB would be able to support you in getting that approval from US DOT. The next step, so we know what hazardous material is going to be used, and we have some design requirements. We know the regulations, and we know the construction standard. US DOT requires the designated approval agency to approve the design. We will review the design drawings, calculations, and test data, for a single design type. That design type could cover different sizes. We also will have to witness all tests required by the regulator for approval of the portable tank. So what I mean by all tests is, for example, the container. If the container is the size where the Convention for Safe Container, CSC, is applicable, the manufacturer has to build a prototype. And that prototype has to be tested. If it's going to be stacked on or lifted, it has to go through lift test, stack test, and then you also have what they call a longitudinal impact test. I don't know if you can picture, like the crash dummies in the car, right? To where, they're going to do something similar to that, to where they're going to have the portable tank and the frame, and they're going to either slam it into a stationary object, or they're going to have a object slam into the container. So that's the test that has to be done, and the results that we'd have to review as part of issuing the design type approval. Once that's all acceptable, then we'll issue a design verification certificate. So it's important, to, because, you may have a prototype may be required. So it's important that early on prior to the design review stage, or maybe it's in the bidding stage, for building these tanks, that you include HSB, to help determine what those requirements are. Normally for ASME Section 8 Division 1 pressure vessel, design approval by a third party is not required unless it's going to another country, such as Malaysia, Singapore, or it has to meet PED requirements. So you want to make sure that as far as time from when you can deliver that tank, that you include design review by a designated approval agency in that process, so you don't get penalized by your customers if you're late, and don't assume that the design review may be acceptable on the first try. So there may be a couple review processes in there, so keep that in mind for the design review. The next step is fabrication and testing. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to just high level, kind of discuss the similarities between ASME Section 8 inspection and inspection by a designated approval agency, and a couple key things that are above it, that are additional requirements or more restrictive, with 49 CFR that you'd have to consider, during the fabrication inspection. So just similar to ASME, you have to, it's best to have the authorized inspector up front and the designated approval, at the beginning, for the initial review, drawings, calcs, establishing of hold points. And during that inspection process, you know, the, the, the inspections, cover both, 49 CFR and ASME. So HSB, our inspector will have them trained to do both, so to be able to cover both, during that time. There may be additional inspection visit to cover 49 CFR requirements as a designated approval agency. The fabrications to and inspection and tests is to the approved drawings and calculations. In addition, the picture, it shows the pressure vessel. It shows the frame, the frame, pressure vessel, even the ladder, so these attachments is included as part of the UN portable tank. What you can't see in the picture is the service equipment, on here yet, but that would be included in as far as the inspection and approval of that tank. Bullet number 3, and this is found in 49 CFR. Depending on the type of steel or alloy being used, post-weld heat treating of the welds may be required. Whereas Section 8 may not be, but because of what is being transported and the steel you're using, you need to consider post-weld heat treating. Post-weld heating would be required. So also, something other to consider. If you remember back to the table, I just realized I can go back here a second here. So if you go back to this, if you remember this slide right here, what is the material to be transported? This T50 tank, it's going to have a note, and one of the notes might say is, hey, minimum hydrostatic test pressure 4 bar, or no bottom openings. So when we go back to this slide right here, number 4, we want to make sure that we identify those requirements, prior to at the design stage, so we don't miss it, and we get it captured. So an example, 49 CFR may have a minimum hydrostatic test pressure, which is higher than what the minimum calculated pressure is for ASME Section 8 Division 1. So you want to make sure that you're testing it to the higher pressure, so you cover both requirements. Also, after the hydrostatic test is done, then you assemble the service equipment, and if it wasn't already assembled for the hydrostatic test, and also the pressure relief devices and everything else. So then 49 CFR requires a leakage test, and that's to verify that there's no leaks, after you do the service, after you assemble the service equipment. All right, certification of the UN portable tank. Okay, so the UN portable tank constructed to ASME Section 8 Division 1 and meets 49 CFR requirements will have two certifications. One that covers ASME Section 8 Division 1, and one that covers 49 CFR requirements for the UN portable tank. So what you'll see is you'll have two reports and 2 nameplates. You'll have like a U1A, and you'll have inspection certificate that the designated approval agency will issue. And then you'll also have 2 nameplates, an ASME nameplate and a UN portable tank nameplate, which you'll see like on the right, the picture on the right. It covers the minimum information that needs to be on the UN portable tank nameplate. One of the things I want to highlight here that has to be on there when you put the manufacturing UN portable nameplate on here is, I'm going to circle here, right here below here, is after the tank has been certified, now it's placed in service, it requires periodic inspection and a hydrostatic and a pressure test as well. So where that's documented is right on that original UN portable nameplate. So you want to make sure that your UN portable nameplate has space for documentation of the periodic test. And we'll talk about that on the next slide here. Periodic testing and inspection of UN portable tanks. So we just covered, hey, it's certified, now it's placed in service. 2.5 years after that initial certification, it's required to have a periodic inspection and test. And after that, it's every 5 years. You don't have to wait for that time frame. If the tank is showing evidence of leakage, damage, maybe it was in a fire, overheated, or if there's any question of, hey, we don't think it can withstand the pressure or contain the contents, you can do the inspection sooner. And if you're the owner user, you want to, probably every time that you fill or discharge, you're probably looking at it, making sure that it's safe to operate. So if you see anything, during that time frame, it's important to make sure that you identify it and do the inspection at time, because you don't want to you don't want to be driving behind one of these that's containing sulfuric acid that's leaking, on your brand new, Corvette. For the owner, it could cause some legal troubles there. So you can be fined by DOT. So you don't have to wait for the 2.5 years or 5 years. The inspection is performed in accordance with the regulations, which may reference other standards such as the National Board Inspection Code. Also, the owner user is responsible for ensuring that they get done. Depending on the regulator, the designated approval agency or the inspection body may be required to perform the inspections or witness the pressure test. In the U.S., the DOT only requires the designated approval agency to witness the pressure test. The owner user can perform those required inspections, but you'll need to have somebody like HSB come in and witness the pressure test. The owner user or authorized agent is responsible for maintaining the records for the inspection and test. So if you contract HSB to witness the pressure test, we'll issue a report. And a lot of times when we do this, it's to the authorized agent. They're not necessarily the owner or the user, but they're acting on their behalf to do the inspections. And we'll witness the test, and then we'll issue them a report. Then it's the responsibility of the authorized agent to provide those reports to the owner user. As mentioned in the previous slide, or shown in the previous slide, the UN plate is marked with the month, year of the pressure test pressure, and the designated approval agency identification marking that witnessed the pressure test. So, usually what we'll do is we will, the authorized agent that's conducting the test and we're witnessing it, we'll have them stamp that information on there, including our identification number. Should you need to repair the UN portable tanks, similar to the construction, the repair organization may be required to be registered or approved by the regulatory requirements, performed per the regulatory requirements and the applicable construction code. And then the reported markings should be per those requirements, or the reference standard that was used for the repair. If the National Board Inspection Code was used for the repair, then the R1 and repair nameplate with the R stamp needs to be on there as well. If it's going to be ASME Section 8 Division, if the construction code is ASME Section 8 Division 1, you can expect that you're going to need to have an R stamp holder to do the repair. Okay, HSB's, so this is just a summary of HSB's capabilities for inspection of the manufacture of UN portable tanks and inspection of UN portable tanks, and for periodic inspection as well. So I highlight that for UN portable tanks, our approval as a designated approval agency comes from US DOT. For Europe and England, we're accredited as an inspection body by INAB and UCAS for the carriage of dangerous goods. If the container is a size or it's required to meet the Convention for Safe Containers, HSB is a delegated approval authority granted by the U.S. Coast Guard. As an authorized inspection agency for ASME, we're accredited by ASME. Our accredited number is 037. And for repairs and alterations, we have a certificate of acceptance as an authorized inspection agency. Key takeaways from this presentation is: one, HSB can be your delegated approval agency and your authorized inspection agency for UN portable tanks that are required to meet 49 CFR requirements. For US DOT and ASB Section 8 Division 1, you're going to have two certifications, one for ASME and one for 49 CFR, the UN. And for periodic inspection, HSB can be your designated approval agency to witness the pressure test. For UN portable tanks that will be used in Europe and may require approval of Carriage dangerous good, HSB can be your inspection body for the approval process of those tanks. And one thing to highlight here too, the last bullet here, hopefully you all know, and as I can attest, the regulatory and construction code requirements can be difficult to get through and understand. I probably have like 3 or 4 people that I say, am I reading this right? So they are difficult. They can be difficult, and it's probably important to contact us to help you through that process. So the earlier you have us included, hopefully that we identify, some of the bumps or highlights or issues that or that we see with the construction code and regulation. We can identify those early, identify any time constraints, so that you can make sure that you're delivering your tank on time. So get us early. We can help you through that, and we provide technical support, training through that process. For additional information, you can scan the QR code that's on the screen or email us at getinfo@hsb.com. We're at that point now. If you have any questions, we can entertain those questions now.
Absolutely, Tim. Thank you for that. Thanks for the great presentation. We are going to move into the Q&A session now to the audience. If you haven't sent in your question yet, you can still do so now by adding that information to the Q&A box on your screen and click submit. We have a couple additional team members joining us for Q&A support. So they were announced in the beginning, but I just want to announce them again. We have Frank Pisek, the Transportation Commercial Manager from HSB. And we also have Manny Alexis, the Design Engineer, also coming to us from HSB. We're going to try to answer everybody's questions today. However, if we don't get to your question for whatever reason, we will reach out after the webinar is over. So please send in your questions or your comments. We would love to hear from you. Okay, let's get into it. Wow, a lot of great questions in the queue here. Please keep them coming. We're very happy to answer all of them. Okay, here's our first question. Does HSB offer additional training or technical support if we have detailed questions?
Frank, I'll let you answer that question there.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. Tim, you did a really good job there at the end of, I guess, slide 19, talking through the pieces of that. So I'm assuming this question probably came in prior to, but I will just reiterate, there's lots of different avenues for training, lots of different avenues for guidance that's possible, even up to the point of advisory services, right? So we do webinars not only through this outlet, we've got stuff on YouTube. We can come in and do very specific training for you and your teams, topics ranging from, obviously this is for UN portables, but any other topic we can customize that type of training, have very high level degreed research engineers providing that training. And then also just advisory services where you've got questions that can come in, contact Tim, myself, and we can get those questions to the proper individuals relatively fast. something that I really enjoy with my time here at HSB is just the opportunity to be a globally positioned business, so that if a company is trying to sell and move their product either overseas or get into new niches, and maybe they don't have all of the expertise just yet, we can help guide them and work through that process in that matter. But yeah, so for training purposes, we've got a lot of different avenues. We do have I guess a quote unquote manned questions and answers from our engineers department. So, and that's usually from our current clients, but yeah, just any questions that come up, please don't hesitate to use that contact us either through that getinfo@hsb.com or through emails that I assume that you will get through some other fashion here. So thanks, Matt, for the time to share that question. Great question.
Absolutely. It's great. Sounds like you guys offer a lot of support to your customers, which is really great to hear. And to the audience, as you know, was mentioned, we have the email address listed on the screen. You can point your camera at the QR code. In addition, across the bottom of your screen, there is a contact us form in there and some other information. Of course, you probably also noticed the resources listed on the right-hand side. And we do encourage you to reach out to the HSB team at any time if you have any questions, and also to follow up with those resources on your screen. Okay, we're in the Q&A. We're going to keep this going for as long as we can here. So send us your questions. We're going to try to answer them all. Okay, this next question is actually two questions that are very similar. So we're going to combine these. So I'm going to read both. The first is, can I buy a used tank and refurbish it, or non-UN portable tank and upgrade its approval status to meet the requirements of shipping the contents I need shipped? And the other question related is, what if I decide to rebuild a UN tank, for example, with a different valve than what is in the approval? Guys?
Okay, I think I'll answer that one there. So the one specific to the with a different valve than what is approved. So that you'd have to go through 49 CFR 0.1, 49 CFR to do that. So one of the things, you could do that, but it'll need reapproval by a designated approval agency to verify that valve, that new valve that you're using, is compatible with the materials in there and what is to be transported. What is the hazardous material to be transported in there? So to make sure that it's compatible and that the design, as far as pressure, temperature, also meets the requirements for the tank. So yes, you can do it, but you got to jump through some hurdles, as far as, kind of like treat it as an alteration, to the pressure vessel. And then can I buy a used tank, refurbish it, or a non-UN portable tank and upgrade its approval status? So I think that, one of the, there was a change in what they call a portable tank. You used to have a DOT specification tank, and then they changed it to UN portable tanks over the years. So you can use the existing specification tanks, and then the reinspection and repairs are identified in 49 CFR requirements of how to use that. So you cannot upgrade it to a UN portable tank. You still treat it as a DOT specification tank. Refurb it, an existing UN portable tank, kind of like what we covered in the presentation, cleaning it out, making it requalify it, retesting, inspecting it. That's any welded repair, then you have to meet the requirements for repair per 49 CFR requirements.
Excellent.
And
Thank you for that.
Well, let me add on. So
Sure.
so that's kind of like with the design. So we've got in the beginning of that quoting stage, hey, we got this tank, they want us to do this to it, right? So get us involved early so we can look at it and see what you're looking at doing to that tank.
Yes, and Matt, sorry to jump in on this, Tim. We've had this question come up multiple times. People just, I guess, Googling, finding HSB and finding us through Get Info and asking questions, or current clients, maybe tank customers, that are that have already previously purchased tanks or want to start up a new, I guess, business product line where they're doing these on a consistent basis. And so we're just able to provide them in that instance, in that specific instance with the client, we were able to provide them with feedback, stuff to look into, and steps to move forward in their new product line launches.
Oh, that's great stuff. Thanks both. Okay, we are in the Q&A session. To the audience, if you still have questions, you can type them in the Q&A box and hit submit. We're going to try to answer everybody today, but if we don't get to your question, we will reach out after the webinar is over. Before we get to the next question, I just want to mention a few things. We have a few questions that came in asking about the replay, whether or not that will be available. The answer is yes. The entire webinar today, including the Q&A session that we're in right now, will be available as a replay on the Global Spec site over the next 90 days, and you can use the same link you used today to access the replay, and it should be ready about an hour after today's live session ends, and we do encourage you to watch that. We also had a couple questions about CE credit or continuing education credit. We are not offering any credit for this webinar or a certificate of attendance, but thank you for joining us today. We do appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, next question here. Let's see. All right, here it is. Question is, are you providing services for UK to UAE sourcing and custom clearance? Guys?
Okay, so I'll answer this one. So this one seems to be kind of complicated, and I probably need to, the person asked this question, probably need to discuss further offline. But from what I think that you are looking for is, one, regarding UK to UAE sourcing is, we can provide, the periodic inspection to, for UK, UN portable tanks that are stamped for any country, but we have to use the 49 CFR requirements. If you're looking for us to provide third-party inspections services, to any requirement, that's one of the things that HSB can provide. So if you say, hey, we just need somebody to look at this tank and it's supposed to meet, I don't know, the IMDG code requirements, we can provide inspection to that. But our approval, from US is from US DOT as a designated approval agency to 49 CFR requirements. So we can, provide it in there, but we have to be careful that we're not, IMDG is not, I don't think there's a certifying body for the IMDG code. It's for like US DOT to accept that, and then have their regulation tells how they're meeting that. So we can provide those in there. The second part, the custom clearance question, that is something that we cannot, we do not, if I understand it, it's the for making sure that whatever's being transported in that tank, or in that container, it gets through U.S. Customs, right? So at this time, we do not provide that inspection, but we are looking at obtaining that approval from U.S. Customs in the near future. So that is something that we're working on. If I did not answer that question, just reach out to me. We can have a discussion to see what you need. Make sure I understand what you need.
Well, and Tim, to piggyback off of this, so it could go another direction with Carriage of Dangerous Goods. If you're talking UK, we do have notified body services in UK and Ireland that support the UN portable tanks for the Carriage of Dangerous Goods scopes. So like Tim said, we'll have to maybe dig in a little bit more to what your specific question is coming from, but we do have the ability to support UN portable tanks in the Carriage of Dangerous Goods, DOT, Transport Canada product lines. And just like Tim said, with the customs clearance, a lot of that is pretty specific. And so we probably have the ability to manage and cover that. We just may not have had that skill that we've done just yet. So please do follow up with the question email wise, and we can get on a call or something along those lines. And if anybody else has any specific questions about that these questions spur up, just send us an email and we'll get to those as quick as we can.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. And I'm sure they appreciate the offer for further understanding that. Yeah, to the audience member that sent it in, thanks a lot for that question. You can send in some more in the Q&A box now, or as mentioned, you can email them. We have an email address listed on the screen there, and you can reach out to the team. All right, let's see, we have a couple good questions waiting for us in the queue. We're going to get to them in a moment. But to the audience, we're sort of nearing the end. So if you have any last questions or comments, now would be a good time to send them in. We'll try to get to them. But again, as mentioned, if we don't get to your question, we will reach out at a later time. Okay, and here's our next question from the audience. Can the National Board Inspection Code, NBIC, be used for the repairs of UN portable tanks where the construction code is not ASME Section 8, Division 1? Guys?
All right. So the answer is yes. The National Board Inspection Code was written, to not only cover ASME, but if you have other construction standards, you can use those as well. And as long as you meet those requirements, then you can verify that it meets that. And if you're looking where exactly in the National Board Inspection Code, I've written down, looks like it's paragraph 1.2 of Part 3 of the National Board Inspection Code.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Tim. Okay, let's see. Getting down to the wire here. Let's see if we have any more questions in the queue we can answer for today. And again, to the audience, now would be your last opportunity to send in any last questions if you do have anything left. We are nearing the end here. Let's see. Just give it a moment to see if anything else comes in. And again, while we're waiting for that, I just want to again mention we have a couple resources in the resource list on the right-hand side of your screen. And of course, we have some contact methods that you can use to reach out to the team. Okay, and it looks like that might have been our last question. We'll just give it one more second here. Okay, great. It looks like that was our last question. So we are going to move to wrap things up. So once again, big thanks to Tim and the HSB team for the great presentation and also spending some time to answer some questions from our audience. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. And of course, we'd like to thank our audience members for being part of this webinar event. You will be receiving an email from us with a link to the on-demand version. So as mentioned earlier, you can come back and watch this again or share it with your colleagues. And lastly, if you could, please take a moment to complete a survey, which will appear on your screen at the end of this live webinar. For on-demand viewers, you will find the survey located along the bottom of your attendee console in the survey widget. Again, thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar event. Take care, and we will talk with you soon.